Hello, what's up, and Vala Margulis to everyone out there in internet land. My name is Nick over here at Dark Wings, Dark Secrets, and if you're watching this video, then you're probably one of the reasons why the Game of Thrones Season 7 premiere trailer number 1 recorded more than 16 million views within its first 24 hours alone. Why is the trailer so great? What could possibly be so exciting that it would warrant the record-breaking success of a glamorized coming soon promo? Let's take a look to find out.
Enemies to the east. Enemies to the west. Enemies to the south. Enemies to the north. Whatever stands in our way, we will defeat it. We're the last Lannisters. The last ones who count.
I was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms. And I will.
The King in the North!
Your father and brothers are gone, yet here you stand. Last best hope against the coming storm.
If we don't put aside our enmities and band together, we will die. And then it doesn't matter whose skeleton sits on the Iron Throne.
Getting right into it, here we go. In the very first shot of the trailer, we see the newly crowned Queen Cersei taking an elegant stroll through the King's Landing courtyard, her chilling voiceover dripping with that classic Lannister paranoia. Enemies to the east, enemies to the west, enemies to the south, enemies to the north. To tell you the truth, it's actually a pretty badass opening line for a trailer, and it really touches on that time in Season 1 when Cersei is talking to Joffrey about him having to marry Sansa, and she tells him that everyone who is not a Lannister is their enemy. This is very interesting to note because as far as we know, pretty much all the Lannisters that we've met on the show are now either dead, dying, or exiled. This actually raises another question as well. If one of the basic tenets of being a Lannister is that your power is derived, maintained, and upheld by other Lannisters, and you can only trust and work with other Lannisters, then how is it possible for Cersei to be queen anyway? Just who exactly is supporting her claim? More on that later. And we'll also be taking another look at this shot in just a few minutes, but for now, let's take a look at who's out to get Cersei. Okay, so for enemies to the east, we see a shot of Grey Worm, and he's backed by a host of Unsullied. This is a very good thing because it looks as if they are preparing for a battle, and we haven't seen the Unsullied do much of anything the last 4 seasons except stand guard and get picked off one by the Sons of the Harpy. Of course, it's nearly impossible to tell from the scene alone who the Unsullied are preparing to fight against, or if they are even preparing to fight at all. But what we do know is that Grey Worm is looking snazzy as hell with his brand new Versace leather outfit with sequined chestplate and dragon lapel. Believe it or not, this dragon emblem that Grey Worm is wearing is also giving us some clues as to what may be happening in Season 7. On Grey Worm's emblem, you see 3 dragon heads intertwined to form a dragon-eating dragon circle of dragons eating each other. I've seen a lot of people jump on this and claim that this symbol is what's known as an Ouroboros, an ancient Egyptian symbol that represents the eternal cycle of life and death as depicted by the serpent eating its own tail. Basically, something old is destroyed in order to make room for something new to be created. Many have theorized that because Grey Worm is wearing the symbol, that it must mean that Daenerys and her army represent the coming of something new to Westeros, and as a necessary consequence, the old ways in Westeros, that being the ruling power of the monarchy, will be destroyed to make room for a new system. Blah blah blah, yada yada. I love a good symbol just as much as anyone, and I'm all about the foreshadowing. But there has to be a certain point where you've got to say to yourself, I think I'm reading way too much into this. You want to believe Grey Worm and the Unsullied represent the death of the old Westeros and the building of the new Targaryen Empire, that's fine. Maybe you'd even be right. But all I know is, that emblem on Grey Worm's uniform with the 3 dragons looks like a wheel, and everyone knows how Daenerys feels about wheels.
Lannister, Targaryen, Baratheon, Stark, Tyrell. They're all just spokes on a wheel. This one's on top, then that one's on top, and on it spins, crushing those on the ground.
It's a beautiful dream. Stopping the wheel. You're not the first person who's ever dreamt it.
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
So the real question is, if Dany has vowed to break the wheel and Grey Worm has a wheel on his uniform, then what exactly is going to get broken this season? Cersei's grip on power? Feudalism in Westeros? The Targaryen, Greyjoy, Tyrell, Sand Snake, Varys, Tyrion Lannister, Dothraki alliance? Grey Worm's heart? Grey Worm's Unsullied? Grey Worm himself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Enemies to the west. Okay, so this is most definitely an Iron Island ship. At first I wasn't sure whose ship it was, but I guess it's been confirmed that it belongs to Euron Greyjoy. Because of all the dark, sinister lighting, it was always easy for me to guess that it was Euron. Mostly because the Ironborn are the only major power left in that region who are also major enemies of the Lannisters. However, it also seemed hard to believe that Euron would necessarily view Cersei as an enemy, at least in the current circumstances. Remember, the Ironborn Kingsmoot happened before the destruction of the Red Keep, and even more importantly, it happened before Cersei was named Queen. As you probably remember, Euron's original plan was to use the Ironborn fleet to provide ships for Daenerys, and in exchange, Euron wanted Daenerys' hand in marriage, which would effectively make an heir of the Iron Islands within reach of the Iron Throne. Of course, pretty much every part of Euron's plan was stupid. It's very unlikely that Daenerys would have married Euron, but the important thing to remember is that Euron wanted to marry Daenerys because of the power that came with it, not necessarily for Daenerys herself, however smoking hot she may be. With Yara and Theon having taken most of the Iron Fleet, Euron would arguably have had to look elsewhere to get his plan into action. But Cersei now is queen with neither a husband nor an heir. Euron is certainly a likely candidate to try to woo Cersei's affections. Sure, there's been a long-standing rivalry between the Lannisters and the Greyjoys for quite some time, but in Euron's defense, he and Cersei would benefit from an alliance. But how would a Greyjoy-Lannister alliance look? Well, for one thing, if the two houses were to combine their naval capabilities, it would mean added protection from an attack from the sea for both Casterly Rock and King's Landing. There would also be a major incentive for Euron and the Ironborn because they would stand to gain money to build more ships and enough power from the crown to gain more territory and authority in the north. Who knows? Maybe even a castle or two. If you dream big enough and think really hard about it, technically, if most of what's left of Westeros were to accept Cersei as queen, then Euron would be in a great position to be declared Warden of the North after they deal with whatever's going on up there. From Cersei's point of view, it's likely she doesn't know about the White Walker invasion. Right now, at this point in the story, Cersei's two biggest concerns about the North are finding Littlefinger and getting an update on the situation with Sansa, and how to deal with the rebellion that led to the end of House Bolton and what was a former Bolton-Lannister alliance. Euron, on the other hand, is the most likely of the two to know something about what's going on in the North, and we don't know what he's been up to until we first see him in the Iron Islands. But so far, Euron has given no real indication that he knows anything about the White Walkers either. And just so I make myself clear when I say that Euron is the most likely of the two to know about what's going on in the North, I'm not talking about the battles taking place in the North between the Boltons and everyone else. I'm not even saying that Euron knows specifically about White Walkers either. But Euron claims to have traveled all over the world. He's been to Qarth, where you had the warlocks like Pryatt Pree. Supposedly he's also been to Asshai, that's also steeped in mystery and magic, on and on and on. So yeah, there is a good chance that Euron doesn't know about the coming White Walker invasion, and in fact, it's okay to assume that he doesn't, because if he did, then why would he even be in Westeros? I am digressing a bit here, but my main point is that we may find out that Euron is up to more than just taking over the Iron Islands for the sake of ruling the Iron Islands. We're going to move on because we have the rest of the trailer to get through, but I want to point out that if there is in fact a Lannister-Greyjoy alliance in the works, then this would actually be a bizarre turn of events. But I'll get to that later, if not in this trailer breakdown, then the next. For enemies to the south, we see a blade being sharpened. We can't tell the identity of the person doing the sharpening. I'm guessing it could possibly be Tyene Sand sharpening one of her daggers, though this is questionable because Tyene's daggers are forged to have a wavier type of appearance. I'm also thinking that it could be Obara Sand sharpening her spear, but then again, if it is a spear, then that means it could be almost anybody in this shot because of how spears are the Dornishmen's weapon of choice. But you never know. In my opinion, the Dorne storyline has been pretty horrible since it was first introduced. But on the positive side of things, the storyline can only get better from here, right? Okay, for enemies to the north, and a shot of Arya riding horseback as she makes her way to Winterfell. Personally, I think Sansa or Jon would have been a much better pick for enemies to the north, at least instead of Arya, mostly because Cersei has no idea that Arya is still alive and a partially trained faceless man assassin. It kind of takes away from the immersion just a tiny bit, because the premise that has been set up so far for the trailer is that Cersei is paranoid, or at the very least extremely naive about her hold on the power that she has, and as a result she's starting to see enemies everywhere. That's the theme, that's the premise. So for Cersei to be talking about all of her enemies and then we see Arya as an enemy to the north gives me the impression that Cersei is some kind of super psychic gifted in the art of logistics. Honestly, I really don't know why this is bugging me so much, but I really wish that they had used a shot of Jon or Sansa, or quite frankly, I would have even preferred a trailer cameo from sassy 10-year-old Lyanna Mormont. It is what it is, but I can't help but wonder if the producers and editors of this trailer even watched the show, because just because Arya is originally from the north doesn't make her the best candidate for this clip, despite her popularity. But whatever, let's just ignore this oversight. As for the shot itself, I'm guessing that Arya is in the north, or at least very close to the northern territories, which is somewhat obvious because when we last saw her, she had just finished murdering Walder Frey the twins. So I'm guessing this shot is set maybe like a day or two after Arya slips away from the twins on her way home. I'll be honest, I try my absolute hardest to stay away from spoilers and even potential spoilers, especially if we're talking about Game of Thrones, but I like watching other YouTubers present their theories on episodes and trailers like this one. Someone mentioned that the smudge that you see right here isn't really a smudge, but the world as seen through the eyes of a direwolf, meaning that more than likely we could possibly see Arya reunited with her direwolf Nymeria. Now, as awesomely cool as it would be to see a grand reunion between Arya and Nymeria, I just don't see how they could fit that in with only 13 episodes left for the series. The show randomly killed off Bran's direwolf Summer literally out of nowhere when they made the escape from Three-Eyed Raven's cave. They killed Rickon's direwolf Shaggy Dog off screen right before they killed Rickon off on screen, and as for Jon's direwolf Ghost, he seems to be used sparingly, probably for CGI budget reasons. Add to that, Arya's got her own problems, because like it or not, the Faceless Men are probably going to be looking for her, so there's that. Which would also explain why she looks so nervous in this shot. Maybe Arya is feeling the presence of her long-lost direwolf and her magic warging powers are being activated here, but with the way that the show has suddenly dropped storylines and killed off characters seemingly for no reason out of nowhere, I don't have much hope for a direwolf subplot. The thing is, I don't even know if I want to be wrong on this. Personally, I think it would be so much cooler if the explanations for why Arya looks so nervous in this shot is because she's on her way to Winterfell, but she keeps getting this creepy feeling that someone is following her. As she continues her travels to Winterfell, this creeping feeling starts to develop into paranoia and so forth. But whatever. The way this show has been going, I wouldn't be surprised if Nymeria did show up and Arya rides away to Winterfell on her back, and then you see Jon greeting her at the gates while riding a dragon.
Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
It's such a stupid premise that I could actually see HBO spending millions of dollars to make sure that this gets inserted into the plot. Next, We see Cersei and Jaime looking at a giant courtyard-sized map of Westeros. We can actually gather one or two important details from this image. First important detail is that we can reasonably assume that Jaime had this map created to get a better look at the Lannister military position. We can make that reasonable assumption based on the premise that Cersei walked into this area and met Jaime here. Okay, remember when I said we'd get back to the shot of Cersei from the beginning of the trailer? Over here you can see the map, and over here you can see what looks like someone's head over here. So unless this is a brilliant piece of deceptive editing, we can assume that this shows us that Cersei walks in and sees Jaime looking at the map. So if she enters the scene from here, more than likely her focus would eventually shift from Jaime to where her attention is drawn to now, which is directed at the north. Interestingly enough, Cersei is standing right next to the twins, the site of the Red Wedding, and more recently, the place where Arya got bloody revenge on Walder Frey and the others who betrayed the Starks by murdering Robb and Catelyn. With Walder Frey dead, there's sure to be an uproar at the twins, and there would definitely be no guarantees that the Frey-Lannister alliance would hold, depending on which Frey takes power. The Frey-Lannister alliance will probably hold for now, but it still seems strange that Cersei and Jaime are looking to the north, when by Cersei's own admission, their biggest threat should be the Dornish to the south. Okay, yes, technically, the biggest threat to the throne and to all of Westeros actually are the White Walkers and the others that are gearing up for a massive invasion. But when the story had been told up to the Season 6 finale, Cersei still didn't know about the White Walker threat. Maybe this image is a shot of Cersei and Jaime after finding out about the White Walkers, but I think it's more likely that they were discussing how many Lannisters it would take to seize the twins, if necessary, in order to stop another northern invasion. Jaime would then say something morbidly pessimistic about how they don't have enough men, and then Cersei would somehow change the subject to something about Sansa at Winterfell. What I'm really loving about this shot is that it really captures the essence of just how hopeless Cersei and Jaime's situation is. The Lannisters have got maybe about anywhere from 8,000 to 15,000 troops left to control pretty much an entire continent with millions of people. Ironically, with Cersei standing right at the twins, it would probably take about half that number to even attempt to attack that castle alone. There's pretty much no way that the Lannisters can hold on to power, and this map all but proves it. But who knows? Maybe Cersei can somehow defeat all of their enemies and win the day. Okay, next shot. Cersei sitting on her throne saying, "Whatever stands in our way, we will defeat it." Man, look at the look on her face. She has the look of someone who is desperately trying to keep their composure by repeating something that they don't really believe over and over until they actually do believe it. At this point, I kind of feel bad for Cersei, but I'll wait until the premiere to make any final judgments about how her story and character have progressed. From the looks of things, she seems to be going batshit crazy from all the stress she's under, and sadly with winter on the way, things are about to get way worse. Here we have a regiment of Lannister soldiers marching in lockstep onward to battle. There's not much to say about this shot except for two things. One, I noticed that the soldiers are carrying shields and spears. The spears are important to note because from what we've seen from the big Battle of the Bastards fight in Season 6, when the Bolton army used spears against Jon and the Wildlings, Jon's army was nearly wiped out. So just from that alone, we know that if used properly, spears can turn the tide of battle with minimal casualties to the guys using spears. Of course, the Lannister army is obviously better trained and better equipped than the Bolton army, so I'm wondering what kind of damage they can do with what little time they have left as a fully functioning and organized fighting force. The other thing I noticed was how intricately detailed the Lannister lion sigil is. It's very impressive, but I'm wondering how practical such a design would be in terms of cost of design and producing and reproducing the sigil. Symbolically, to me, the Lannister lion represents the opulent, spendthrift attitude that many Lannisters like Tyrion and Cersei seem to harbor. And I'm also wondering if and when Cersei will tell Jaime the secret that Tywin told her about how the Lannister wealth has pretty much been exhausted. Now in the next shot, we see a mystery character talking to Cersei in the throne room. What could this person possibly want? Who could this person possibly be? Well, it's nearly impossible to tell, but I think that whoever it is, they are standing straight up with their arms folded in front of them, not kneeling or lowering their gaze like a commoner would, rather defiant if you ask me. I've heard other trailer breakdown videos where some people are wondering if it's a representative of the Iron Bank come to collect some of that $6 million in gold debt that the crown owes to them. I like this idea because then we would get to see Cersei and we'd actually get to see what she's like when she actually gets the power that she's craved for so long. Of course, if Cersei did meet with anyone from the Iron Bank, she'd most likely insult them and say something that would further jeopardize the Lannister hold on power. And yes, I say this as someone who has read all 5 of the Song of Ice and Fire books that have been released so far. Another idea that I had was, what if it were Euron? It's entirely possible. As I said before, there would be much to gain, or at least not lose, if the Lannisters teamed up with the Ironborn. And this would also be a good way to watch Cersei struggle with the stresses of ruling an entire kingdom. Yes, the Lannisters need as much help as they can get, but at what cost? Euron's insane, and the Lannisters have been at war with the Ironborn for generations. So from my perspective, it doesn't matter to me if it's an Iron Bank representative or Euron come to treat with the new Queen of Westeros. Either scenario would be fun to watch. Let's also take a look at several other things around the room. Up here we see the 7-pointed star that would usually sit above the throne, and it's been replaced with the Lannister lion. At first I was snickering at the idea of how in the world did Cersei manage to find a blacksmith to create this piece with all the activity that's been going on since the Sept of Baelor was destroyed. I could understand that to have any references to the Faith of the Seven may be a bit inappropriate considering that the Faith Militant and the High Sparrow nearly got away with a hostile takeover. But then why take the time to replace the 7-pointed star with anything at all? Where are Cersei's priorities right now? Surely she doesn't think that killing the High Sparrow and the other noblemen and women would be the end of her troubles. The High Sparrow was only able to secure so much power because the citizens of King's Landing were fed up with the way things were being done under their then current leadership. If anything, Cersei should be in even more danger because as far as most people are concerned, Cersei is responsible for killing the one person who is providing hot food and shelter for the city's poor. I mean, besides Olenna Tyrell, of course.
As Master of Coin, it falls upon me to calculate the cost for the crown. As of now, it's a huge expense.
And?
And we're at war, Lady Olenna.
Oh, I'd nearly forgotten.
Yes, and maintaining supply
I
lines.
can't think how it slipped my mind. What is it, 12,000 infantrymen the Tyrell family has supplied? 1,800 mounted lancers? 2,000 in support. Provisions, so this city might survive the winter. 1 million bushels of wheat, 500,000 bushels each of barley, oats, and rye. 20,000 head of cattle, 50,000 sheep. You don't have to lecture me about wartime expenses. I'm quite familiar.
And while we're on the subject of pissed off crowds of hungry people, we also have a rationale for why there seem to be so many soldiers around, like the ones we see standing guard in the throne room. But when you look at them, they don't just seem to be standing guard, they seem to be at the ready to attack in case their mystery guest tries anything fancy. Now that I think about it, this probably makes the idea of this person being Euron about 92%, because there's no way that you would need so many guards for an Iron Bank representative. One last thing I'd like to point out for this shot is that it's obviously taking place during the day, but there are braziers burning in order to provide enough light for everyone to see what's going on. I like this because it really emphasizes that yes, winter is here, even in the southern territories of Westeros. It really hammers home the point that Cersei is going to be desperate and racing against time to not only secure a position as ruler, but also to figure out how to not freeze and starve to death during the winter season. It would also explain why Jaime looks uncomfortable in the next shot here. If my theory that the mysterious visitor in the throne room is in fact Euron, then this could be Jaime trying his hardest not to punch him in the throat for his rude and crude behavior and language. Before we move on from this, I just wanted to add that it's going to be really interesting to see how Jaime deals with what's going on at King's Landing. Looking at him, he looks very tired, very disheveled. There's probably not much by way of gourmet food in King's Landing at this point, and the guy has just had to go through his daughter dying in his arms, only to return home to find out that his son has committed suicide. Jaime is under some enormous pressure right now, and he's bound to snap at some point. But will Jaime emerge from this as a hero, or as the same villain that we first met in Season 1?
The things I do for love.
Okay, here we go. Cersei looks like she's trying her hardest not to lose her patience. Every shot in this trailer now is just screaming Euron Greyjoy. Cersei is going to need Euron's help, and she knows it. I'm imagining the scene as being Euron in the throne room telling everyone about how big his cock is, and how he's going to use it on Cersei if she'll have him. And knowing Euron, he's going to make at least 1 or 2 jokes about Cersei and Jaime's incestuous affair, now that everyone knows about it. Again, assuming that what I'm guessing at is true, then this may be evidence that Euron isn't a complete moron after all. Sure, the guy is going into the lion's den and acting like an asshole, and under normal circumstances, Cersei would have more than likely had him thrown into the black cells as punishment, but as you can tell from the depressing atmosphere of this trailer, these aren't normal circumstances. But how does this scenario prove that Euron isn't a moron? Well, yes, he would be taking a risk by provoking Cersei and Jaime right in their faces, but I can see this more of a tactical move to gauge how desperate Cersei really is. What do I mean by this? Well, we've seen on at least 2 occasions in the Game of Thrones story where a character judges how powerful a potential enemy is by insulting them to their face. If the potential enemy cannot or will not punish you for your actions, then this is the proof needed that your enemy has no power or motivation to stop you, meaning that at least for the moment you are more powerful than your enemy. One of the more recent examples of this would be in Season 6 when Small John Umber went to treat with Ramsay after Roose Bolton was killed. Small John was technically in a weaker position because he was in Ramsay's territory, but that didn't stop him from refusing to bend the knee or even calling Roose, Ramsay's father, a cunt. Under normal circumstances, Small John would have probably been taken away to be tortured and flayed alive, but because Ramsay was secretly desperate for Small John's help, he was willing to let everything slide. Another example would be way back in Season 3, right before Robb Stark was betrayed by Walder Frey at the Red Wedding. Robb was Walder Frey's lord, but Walder Frey had the upper hand because Robb was desperate for Walder Frey's help in turning the tide of war against the Lannisters. Walder Frey took advantage of this by basically forcing Robb to cede to his demands of a formal apology. He got Robb to convince Edmure to marry Rosalind, and he even humiliated Robb further by insulting his wife Talisa right in front of the entire court. Being forced in this position didn't go well for Ramsay Bolton or Robb Stark, so there's absolutely no reason to believe that a Cersei placed in the same predicament would be any different. Also, side note, what the fuck is Cersei wearing in this shot? I understand that Tommen just died and the kingdom is in mourning for their former ruler, so wearing black like some Sith Lord is actually quite appropriate. However, what's up with this weird metal spike thingy that adorns Cersei's dress?
Loras, isn't the Queen's gown magnificent? The fabric, the embroidery, the metalwork, I've never seen anything like it.
And the shoulder spikes are a little overboard as well. It's a little too, oh yes, I'm the villain of the story now. Now bring me the blood of children. Next, it's Tyrion, all blue eyes a sparkle, looking up at the wonder of dragons flying majestically through the air. For one thing, this imagery was so Season 6, but it reminded me of Tyrion confessing that he always wanted to fly a dragon. Will Tyrion get his wish? I'm not so sure, but more on that in an upcoming video. But anyway, quick note about why Tyrion looks like this in the trailer. To me, he looks worried, like he had an "oh shit, what have I done" type of moment. Obviously they're on Dragonstone, but I'm wondering if maybe Tyrion is regretting his decision to help Daenerys because he realizes that if she wins the Iron Throne, that this is the end of his family's history and legacy. Sure, Tyrion was mad at Tywin. Everybody knows that, and he probably doesn't think too fondly of Cersei either. But what about Jaime? What about the other Lannisters at Casterly Rock? If Tyrion takes over Casterly Rock like how he always wanted to, then so what? He helped a foreign invader to usurp the rule of then-reigning Lannister queen. I wouldn't be surprised if from now on literally everyone that Tyrion meets hates him and plots to kill him. Oh yeah, and now that I think about it, Tyrion doesn't know that the Lannisters are broke. So really all he's doing is helping Daenerys to conquer a castle filled with nothing. Okay, next it looks like Daenerys is being escorted into Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon's old castle, and of course the ancestral castle of House Targaryen. Pretty emotional moment for Daenerys, I'm guessing because she was supposedly born then. But I also wonder if this means that Dragonstone is the first castle that Daenerys conquers upon her return to Westeros. Personally, I find this hard to believe because if you look right here, it looks as if Daenerys is looking at Dragonstone for the first time since landing in Westeros, but up here you can see the Targaryen sigil has already been installed at the front of the castle. It's actually a little ridiculous because where the hell did they actually find anyone to do this? I remember that in Season 5, the Unsullied magically turned into structural engineers when they tore down the Harpy statue atop the Great Pyramid. That I could understand, because you're literally knocking something down. But to do something like this requires a lot more work and precise calculations. But anyway, whatever, moving on. Here's Daenerys getting emotional. She's finally in Westeros. All the hard work she's put in since she tacitly murdered her own brother is finally paying off. Okay, now it's getting boring. She's being all dramatic, pressing her hand to the sand and looking up with determination. It's a very good day for feminism. And strangely enough, it's also a good day for bubblegum rap music?
Girl, shake that laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. Shake that laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. Girl, shake that laugh it, tap it. 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 I'm looking for Mrs. Bubblegum. I'm Mr. Chico Stick. I wanna dun-dun-dun. Oh, cause you so thick. Girls call me Jolly Rancher. Oh, cause I stay so hard. You can suck me for a long time. Oh my God, girl, this ain't a dance floor. This a candy store. And I'm really geeked up, and I got more trolls. I pop, I roll, it's soft. I know it's the summertime, but your laughing taffy got me full. Get loose, get low, don't be shy. I'm Fable. I know you wanna ride, you a star, and it shows. What's happening? What's up? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Girl, shake that laugh taffy, that laugh taffy, shake that laugh taffy, that laugh taffy. Girl, shake that laugh taffy. That laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. Girl, shake that laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. Shake that laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. Girl, shake that laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it. That laugh it, tap it.
Alright, yeah, sorry everybody, I got a little carried away, but let's move on. Here's Daenerys in the Dragonstone throne room, just sitting there. At this point, she's probably thinking, where are all the loyal subjects that Illyrio promised would be flocking to my Targaryen banner? I'm really looking forward to seeing whether or not Daenerys' ability to rule and hold court has improved any, if at all. She really messed up a lot of things when she was in Meereen, and I suppose there would be a litmus test in this scene to see if her character has grown at all. Man, it would have been so awesome to see Stannis sitting here when he was in charge of Dragonstone. Could you imagine how awesome it would be to see Stannis holding court?
We all know what Stannis is. He inspires no love or loyalty.
And I declare upon the honor of my house that my beloved brother Robert left...
It wasn't my beloved brother. I didn't love him. He didn't love me.
A harmless courtesy, Your Grace.
A lie. Take it out.
We're too far from the gates. Fire. There are archers. Hundreds will die.
Thousands. Joffrey, Renly, Robb Stark, they're all thieves. They'll bend the knee or I'll destroy them. Show me.
Where's your god now?
Yeah. Oh boy, a great action shot where we see the Unsullied kicking ass and taking over a Lannister stronghold. Obviously they didn't fight the fair fight because this guy on the ground was clearly dead before they rushed in.
You got knocked the fuck out!
By now you can probably tell that I'm a bit of a nitpicker, but the set design in this shot is really bugging me. Who's in charge of budget allocations at Casterly Rock? You're telling me that someone decided that it was a good idea to paint the Lannister lion on the walls of Casterly Rock, but you're going to put die-cast metal moldings of that same lion on thousands of Lannister's shields? I can see why Uncle Kevin Lannister tried to take over. Tywin was obviously doing a shit job. Oh yeah! An Unsullied sword and shield versus a Lannister sword in an enclosed space, baby. Yeah, that's definitely the pointy end. Looks like the Unsullied are pretty much invincible. So it would seem. The King in the North! Jon Snow looking dazed and confused as ever. But Lord Jon Royce is there, Lyanna Mormont is there, Davos and Sansa are there, and Littlefinger is there. I'd watch him if I were you. This is most likely the meeting after the battle where everyone is like, what the fuck? What do we do now? And Jon gives the same speech about sticking together against the White Walker threat for like literally the 150th time. That's fine and all, but Jon, come on, you're beating a dead horse at this point. I'm sure that everyone believes you, most likely because you returned from the dead. Speaking of which, I wonder if anyone besides Dolorous Edd is going to challenge Jon about his Night's Watch vows. In fact, what's even going on with those guys anyway? Who's making sure that the last couple dozen of them haven't deserted? What are they guarding if all the wildlings have passed through the gates? Yeah, the White Walkers are coming supposedly, but if the wall is bound with powerful magics that prevent them from passing, then why still stand watch? Next we have Creeper Baelish manipulating Sansa again. He's telling her that her father and brothers are dead, but yet there she stands, the last best hope against the coming storm. You can't really tell here, but if you look close, Creeper's looking a bit grizzled, like he's not used to the accommodations provided in the north. At this point, he's got to be getting desperate. His plan to marry Sansa to Ramsay failed miserably, and he's got nothing to go back to in King's Landing. Creeper needs something to break for him, and that probably means that he needs Sansa to do some dirty work for him. Personally, I actually want Sansa to fulfill her role as a player, but so far it looks like she's been getting played. Even Jon somehow happened to stumble into being a player, so that's got to be pissing her off on some level. Here's Theon Greyjoy looking at what's probably a burning ship. Everything is burning to a crisp behind him, and this guy is fucking shell-shocked. Is this attack happening before or after they arrive at Dragonstone? Who would dare?
It would be almost as brazen as attacking the hand of the king in the streets of the capital.
Oh, look! Melisandre made it to Dragonstone, and she's looking glumly at the winding pathway below. I can't quite make out everyone making their way up to the castle, but you can definitely tell that some of them are unsullied, and I think this little speck here is Tyrion. Looks like they took the place without a fight. But back to Melisandre for a moment. Like seriously, this is pretty much the only facial expression she's had since she left Stannis' camp. Why is she even still depressed? Yeah, she was wrong about Stannis, and she was wrong about burning Shireen at the stake, but Melisandre already admitted that reading the flames isn't an exact science. She pretty much guesses at what the Lord of Light wants, so why is she so down when she finds out that she was wrong? Maybe the actress just ran out of acting juice or something? Okay, now it's really getting interesting. Looks like some sort of ranging party on a mission beyond the wall. If you're wondering why the fuck anyone would even want to go back out beyond the wall, let's not forget that the last time Jon and his crew were out there, they had a stash of dragon glass with them that somehow got lost in all the confusion in the attack on Hardhome. As you know, dragon glass is the only known substance besides Valyrian steel that can kill a White Walker. If they're going to have any defense against these mofos, then a search and recover mission is essential for mounting any kind of defense. Arya, alone in the forest, and hears a strange noise. I really hope that she's being stalked by a faceless man assassin out to get revenge for the waif, but that would be too much of a sensible storyline. Better to put that massive show budget to better use and have Nymeria show up for a couple of minutes before she dies needlessly for some random reason. Okay, now the ranging party is making a defensive stand against unseen enemies that threaten to surround them. The last stand of the Night's Watch. I love it. Here's another shot of Creeper being creepy. I really hope for the love of the Seven that they don't give Creeper generic sandbox lines and just have him in the background looking evil. A few people that I've talked to have complained that his accent keeps changing. I hope this doesn't mean that Creeper dies this season. I hope he doesn't die at all during this show. But what's he doing down here in the dark? And next it's... Oh man, fuck me. Fuck me, fuck Benioff and Weiss, and fuck whoever it was at HBO who signed off on this shit. Alright. Dothraki warriors horse surfing as they ride fearlessly into battle. Who knows, maybe this isn't the stupidest tactical move in the history of warfare. no, no, no. No. No, I'm convinced. This is the stupidest thing ever. Listen, the Dothraki are horse lords. Horse lords. The most valuable possession that a Dothraki can hope to attain is a horse. There's no fucking way a real Dothraki would ever treat his horse in this way. But who knows? Maybe there's something that I'm missing. I mean, it's not like they would actually do something so asinine, like jump off of their horses to attack an enemy on foot, right? Fuck you guys. Okay, looks like the surprise attack at sea is starting to heat up. I've heard a lot of people saying that this is a surprise attack on Dany's forces by Euron. I'm still out on the fence for this one. If you look right here, this guy has some kind of funny looking shield. No sigil or anything, just a big red button on a shield. I think it makes more sense that this is a surprise attack from pirates or even cell sails being paid to disrupt Daenerys' advance. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a surprise attack out of nowhere and at the end of the battle we see Salladhor Saan was leading the charge? And then he stands over Theon's broken body as he begs for mercy. But then Salladhor just looks down at him with a cutlass in his hand and says, "This one's for Stannis, bitch!" And he cuts Theon's head off. Yeah, that would be awesome, so no, we probably won't see it on the show. Now Davos is giving another speech about how they'll all die if they don't band together. At first I'm thinking, yada yada yada. Davos is pretty much preaching to the choir at this point. Is there anyone in the North who isn't fully behind Jon right now? I mean, besides Sansa. But anyway, my point is, maybe Davos isn't giving a speech in the North. Maybe Davos is somewhere else. Here's Daenerys and Tyrion plotting their bloody conquest of Westeros in the same room that Stannis plotted his bloody conquest of Westeros. I mean, really and truly, why even waste the time? Like, who the hell is even going to tell them that they can't take over Westeros? House Beesbury? House Osgood?
I'll find you an army of grace. I've been working day and night.
What progress have you made?
I've rallied House Peasbury to your cause.
House Peasbury.
House Musgood.
Musgood.
And House Hay.
House Hay. They don't have enough men between them to raid a pantry.
Fuck out of here. Here we have the Mountain in his newly customized zombie armor. I've actually got a cool theory about this whole Gregor Clegane zombie monster stuff. Stay tuned for an upcoming video, but in the meantime, notice that he's looking at someone as if he's ready to bash his head into a wall. I am now 97.3% certain that this is Euron in the throne room talking to Cersei. Who else would warrant such a strong show of force? Now Jon's leading some Night's Watchmen through the crypts of Winterfell, and it looks like Jon's going to beat up Creeper for his dealings with the Boltons. Man, I can't wait for the big reveal from Creeper. I don't know what the reveal would be, but it's got to be something major if Jon didn't even get this upset when he heard that Creeper had married Sansa off to Ramsay. I'm guessing Jon gets in a solid punch, then stops when Creeper reminds Jon that if he's killed that Jon would lose the support of the Vale or something like that. But anyway, more on the Unsullied versus the Lannisters. This is extremely awesome and my favorite part of the whole trailer. My adrenaline really got pumping when I saw this because we're so used to seeing the Unsullied fighting in defensive formation. But here and in other parts of the trailer, they seem to be on a totally offensive front. It feels especially refreshing to see them duking it out with the Lannisters like this, especially after being virtually helpless against the Sons of the Harpy and Meereen. If the horse-surfing Dothraki earlier in this trailer is any indication of how over-the-top these Unsullied clashes may be, then expect an epic battle or two for the Unsullied that will be based on stuff that looks really cool, but won't necessarily make any sense from a logical, realistic, actually could happen point of view. And here's Arya again for the third time in this trailer, just looking around, not really doing anything important. I would say that she's either looking for terrorists or perhaps more likely searching for Needle. Wouldn't it be cool if Arya keeps getting in a weird feeling that she's being followed and then she gets a room at an inn one night and then she wakes up only to discover that her sword is gone and she's now completely defenseless against an unknown assailant? But nah, that would be too awesome. So they will probably have her looking under her bed and finds Nymeria under there taking a nap. And they'll probably make it as a season finale ending or something like that. Okay, but it looks like we have Jorah's hand reaching through a door slot showing off how he's been cured of his grayscale. A lot of fans seem to think that Jorah's at the Citadel for his cure, but it makes more sense to me that he's still in Essos, at the temple in Asshai or something. From what's been mentioned about Asshai, we know that it's a place of dark magic and mystery. We also know that Asshai is home to the Red Priests, worshippers of R'hllor. So to me, all signs point to Jorah being in some dimly lit cell in Asshai, seeking out a magical cure to his grayscale. Obviously, though, there were some, shall we say, side effects?
Let's see how we did.
Mirror.
Mirror! You understand that the nerves were completely severed, Mr. Napier. You see what I have to work with here.
I think it's important to think about what this means for Jorah's character. What would Jorah have had to give up in order to pay for his treatment? What's Jorah's mental state going to be like after using magic to cure grayscale? That arm looks pretty bad. Next up we have the Dothraki in battle with Lannister soldiers, demonstrating how to properly not ride into battle surfing on horses. See this guy? Yeah, he's totally fucked. Now here's Jon and Tormund running around beyond the wall because it looks cool, and also probably searching for dragonglass. I wonder, if Jon is always going out on missions, who has control of the North in his absence? Is it Sansa? Whoa! Looks like things are getting hot and steamy in Missandei's bedroom because she's getting it on with Grey Worm. I'm sure that this is designed to be a heartwarming, beautifully designed scene meant to convey the love between a former sex slave and a eunuch who loves her dearly. But nah, let's make it as dirty-minded as possible. Ah yes, can you feel the passion in this shot? Yara and Ellaria having a good time makes me feel all warm inside. I don't know if it's bad writing or because both of these characters are chronic nymphomaniacs, but we may have a winner here. On a more serious note, it's actually kind of odd to me that Ellaria would assassinate Prince Doran based on the fact that she viewed him as a weak man, but yet every other scene we see her giving into her base desires more than the men on the show. Okay, next shot we have either Daenerys or Tyrion knocking over the Lannister line's position on the war table. I'm guessing that this indicates a major Lannister defeat, the complete decimation of their army, or they're just bored about how easy it is to conquer Westeros once the economy is shattered and all the food is running out. Next shot we see some unknown hero rescuing someone from some cool explosions. Maybe it's Theon saving Yara from certain death. Yeah, probably. But the way that the flames are spreading across the water suggests that it's not just some boat on fire, but an actual weapon being used against their fleet. Perhaps used in a way that's even deadlier than wildfire. And finally, shit's going down in Westeros as the Unsullied charge into battle backed up by Drogon. I guess this is them sweeping the Seven Kingdoms or something. From what we've seen in the trailer so far, I'm only guessing that the Lannister army is tricked into meeting a much smaller force in the field. And then once the soldiers are outside, they launch this dragonized surprise attack. Meanwhile, as the Lannister army is outside getting their asses kicked, another group of Unsullied sneakily sneak into Casterly Rock and kill the remaining guards without much of a fight, and this is why we saw the Unsullied charging through the doors earlier. The trailer makes things look like an open and shut battle, Or maybe there's something that we're missing and maybe the Lannisters aren't defeated so easily? We shall see. But until then, we've got another trailer to get through, and your likes, comments, subscriptions to this channel, and overall engagement are greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. I'm Nick, and I'll see you next time.